So guys, we're on lesson 13, which is nested loops, and we're going to be using Elsa from Frozen. So remember, our number one important thing is read the directions. So it says, "Hi, I'm Elsa of Arendelle. Help me draw a shape." So draw a small shape between 20 and 50 pixels wide, so it can't be bigger than that. It can be any shape you like. So it can be something like this, or we can do something different like a zigzag or a circle, but we're just drawing a shape. So let's begin. Our only requirements is it can't be between 20 and 50. So I'm going to try to draw, let me pull up my annotations.
Word smart kids.
Annotations. And I'm going to try to draw a shape that looks kind of like this. But I'm going to have it flip and try to go like this. And you'll notice it's not the best. But I'm going to try to make it a six-sided shape. So let's give it a try. So my first thing I need to do is I need to move forward. It needs to be between 20 and 50 pixels. So I'm going to do a small one to start with. So I'm going to do 20 pixels. Pretty small. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And now you'll notice I need the person to turn. I need Elsa to turn. And remember, I take my chair and I face the direction she's facing. I need her to turn up. And I see that up is what? That up is going to be to the left. So we're going to turn left. And now how many degrees do we want that person to turn? Well, this time it doesn't give us, the 60, 90. We actually get to pick ours. And so if you remember, we have a circle, and we were dividing it by 8, we were dividing it by 4, we were dividing it by 6. And that was going to tell us what we get. Now, I want a six-sided shape, so I'm going to divide it by 6. And 6, I see, 6 goes into 36. Well, I take that 0 off. It goes in 6 times. Multiply, subtract, bring down. 0 goes into 6 0 times. So my answer is 60. So I need to find the degree of 60. So I'm going to put that here. And it's going to be easier instead of trying to drag this to 60, which I guess we could. I was going to type it, but there we go. So let's give it a try. And she turns. And now I'm going to repeat this how many times? I'm going to repeat it 6 times. Because there's 6 shapes. So let's give that a try now. And voila. Now, oops, I put 10 by mistake. I want it to be 6. So there's my shape. And I'll get rid of my annotations for us so we can see it better. Yeah, so now I'm ready to go to the next one. So I'll click Finish. And now what does Lesson 2 says? Now it says, let's draw more than one. So take your shape and draw 2 or 3 in a row by jumping forward some number of pixels. So we're going to draw our shape, and then we need to jump forward. So we're going to jump, and it doesn't tell us how much. So we have a length of 40, so let's just do a little bit more than 40. Let's do 50, and just see what that looks like. There, she's ready for the next one, so it looks good. So now I'm going to repeat it. It doesn't tell us how many. It says 2 or 3, so let's just do 3, just to see what it looks like. So remember, I drew my shape first, this chunk right here, and then I'm repeating that shape. Pretty nicely done. So now what does lesson 3 says? It says, next, jump Elsa back to the center using the jump to 200 over and 200 down block. So, what does that mean? Well, it says it's going to spin her around to draw the line of shapes again. And let me bring this down for us. And again, a bunch of different directions. So we're repeating that. And then look, it's going to go over and over and over and over again. So let's give it a try here. So it says we need to jump to 200 over and 200 down. So it says we're going to jump after we're done with this, drawing the shapes. So we'd end up like right here maybe. We're going to jump all the way back to the beginning. This 200 by 200 is where our starting point is. And look, she came right back. So now what do we need to do? Well, it says we want to repeat that. We want to draw it in a whole bunch of different shapes. So I have these 3 shapes, and now I'm going to repeat this whole loop. So it's going to draw those 3 shapes over and over and over again. Now there's going to be something that's going to happen incorrectly. So let's say I want 5 sides this time. Notice she's drawing those 3 shapes 5 times each. So remember, after we do this, we need her to rotate. Now remember, 360 degrees is a circle, and 360, I want there to be 5 points, because I like how 5 looks with these. I'm going to divide it by 5. So 5 goes into 36 7 times. Multiply, subtract, 1, bring down. 5 goes into 10 2 times. Multiply, subtract. So it's going to be 72. So we're going to have her rotate 72. So where is my turn? There we go. And again, I want her to turn right. It doesn't matter if I do left, but I'm going to have her turn right because that was already our preset. And so now you'll notice she's going to be facing down. So she'll be facing down this way. So let's clear our annotations. Make sure she's facing down after she draws. And look, she's ready to go. So now I can repeat this whole chunk. And there's going to be 5 times because that was 360 divided by 5. Now I notice mine are a little different because they're clumped together. So I want there to be bigger spaces because I like those spaces between these ones. So let's change that. Instead of jump forward 50, let's have her jump forward 100, like twice as much, and see how that looks. It looks a little better because look, we have smaller shapes, but now it's off. So I need to make my hexagons even smaller. So let's have her, instead of doing 40 pixels, instead of having the hexagon be 40, I'm going to make it just 20 and see if that fits all of them on. We're getting better. But now that big space, that 100 looks pretty huge. So I'm going to shrink it down to half this size. And notice how I'm just playing with it, seeing how these look. So it looks pretty good. I can keep changing it if I want to, but we're going to go on to the next one now. Okay, what happens if we draw snowflakes on top of each other? So it says, try layering 2 different shapes of snowflakes on top of one another with a little turn in between. See what you get. So, what do you think it's telling us to do? Well, I need to draw 2 different snowflakes on top of each other. So let's get rid of this code right here. And this was 1 snowflake. And now, it wants us to draw another one on top. So let's give that a try. Remember, we're going to jump back because we want to go back to the beginning. And now what do? Well, it wants us to draw another snowflake. So let's do the repeat. And I want this to have 4 sides. Now let's do 3. Let's do a triangle. And so what do we need to do? Well, we need the person to move forward. And we'll leave it at 30. We'll see how that looks. And then we need to turn. Remember, a triangle is 360 divided by 3, which we've done many times. It's going to be 120. So we're going to turn left 120. And then let's see what it looks like. So we drew the triangle on top of what? On top of that. And then it says, but we want to do a little turn. So in between our 2 shapes. So let's just put a slight turn in there. And it doesn't tell us what turn we want, so let's just do 25. Okay, oh look, and now it's facing down. So now let's repeat this. And there's our shape right there. So I bet our next thing's going to be, let's try repeating those. So get creative in shapes and see what kind we can draw. Well, we have this nice one right here. So now let's just repeat it. So we have our whole gigantic chunk here. Oops. Repeat 6 times. Repeat 3 times. Okay. And then we're going to want to let's give that a try. Look. So they're all being clumped together. So what's going on here? Well, remember at the end, we need to have those spaces between. So we're going to break this apart. Because remember, we're going to start with our shapes one at a time. And then remember, we want this shape to do what? We want it to repeat. So I can go back and look at my previous ones, or I've done enough, I can just build it forward. So I'm going to have it move forward, and we're going to try 50. And then we're going to repeat it 3 times. because that's going to draw 3 shapes right in a row. Ah, pretty good. Now, oops, I don't want move forward. I lied. That was my mistake. I want that jump because I don't want that line underneath. And now we're going to take our code right here. And we're also going to have that do what? We're also going to have it, oops, repeat 3 times. Oh, look. So remember, we do want that turn between. So there's a nice one. And now we can repeat the whole entire thing 5 times if we want. Look at that, it's making a giant circle. So these are just some options that we can do. So now I'm going to make it like we originally had planned, where I'm going to have those 2 shapes going out from each other. So we're going to draw that one shape, and then after it draws that one shape, we're going to jump back and turn. And then we're going to repeat that 3 times. So draw that one shape, jump and turn. So let's see how that looks now. Oops. See, I forgot to put this in here, so let's give that a try. Yeah, so notice those triangles are coming across. So now let's repeat this 5 times and just see how those look layering them on top. So a pretty nice snowflake right there. So let's head to our next one. Let's try something new. This time, skate in a zigzag. So draw a stair-step pattern that turns between 75 and 105 degrees. Make sure that your left and right turns use the same angle. So what do we need to do? Well, it says we need to move forward, and it doesn't tell us how much, so we'll just leave it at this 30. And then it says we need to do a zigzag. So we're going to turn 75 to 100 degrees. So let's do that. And 90 is straight up and down. So let's do 80 and just see what that looks like. So we're going to turn right. And now what? We're going to move forward 30 again. She's down. And now, remember, we want her to turn left this time. So I take my chair, face it the same direction she is, and I see she wants to turn left to keep that zigzag going. Now, there is this important thing. It says make sure your left and right turns use the same angles. So since this is 80, that means this has to be 80 too. Ah, and it looks like we're good. So now we're going to repeat these steps and see if we get that zigzag. And let's do it just 5 times. Ah, there we go. There's our zigzags. So now we want to turn around 180 degrees and draw the exact same stair pattern again. So all it's telling us to do is we need to turn 180 degrees. So once we get to the end, she's going to do what? She's going to turn all the way around. And we're going to repeat that exact same pattern again. Now we could copy this all down. Or what's nice is that we can just throw this all in a repeat loop. So let's see how that works. Whoa, and look, it made those little like rhombuses. Now it says spin that shape around 5 or 6 times in a circle. So what do we need to do? Well, after we've done this staircase that turns into a rhombus, it says we need to spin around 5 or 6 times. So we need her to turn 5 or 6. Remember, 360 divided by 6 is 60. 360 divided by 5 is 72. So let's start out with 5, which would be 360 divided by 5 is 72. And make sure she's turning first. Yeah, she's in a different direction now. So we're going to throw this all in a repeat loop of 5. And let's see how it turns out. Ah, we've made a different kind of snowflake now. So lastly, it says, now what should we do? Let's explore and create our own winter wonderland. Try playing around with what you've created. Draw whatever you like. So I can use this right here. I like that shape. And now I'm going to draw another shape just on top, because I like that pattern that we did with the, I think, lesson 5. Yeah, I like this pattern right here. So I'm going to draw a shape like this on top of my other snowflake shape. So let's see. So remember, how I do it is I'm just taking this code and I'm just saving it, putting it over to the side. So first, I'm going to draw a 6-sided shape. So let's start with that. So we have a 6-sided shape. So I move forward. I'm going to make this a 20 pixel. And then I turn left. And 360 divided by 6 is 60. Because remember, I'm going to make a 6-sided shape. So let's run that. Oops, and I want her to turn left. I guess it doesn't really matter, but I just started out with left, so I'll keep doing left. And now, what do I need to do? Well, I'm going to repeat that 6 times because there's 6 shapes. Ah, very good. And now remember, I want her to jump forward a certain amount, so she's going to skip. So let's do 35. Oops, but that was a wrong jump. Jump forward 35 pixels and run it to make sure she's where I want her to be. Yep. And then what do? Well, I'm going to repeat this however many times. So I want this to be 3 times. So she's going to draw 3 shapes. And I decide I want there a little more space between them. So let's try 50. And maybe even a little more. So it's just playing around, seeing what you like. There we go. So now I want her to go back to the middle. So we can do jump to the center position, which is the same as jump to 20 over 20 down. These are the exact same pieces of code. And now I want her to turn. So let's have her turn right. And now, however many times I want her to turn, 6, 5, I just put that degrees in. So we're going to do 60 this time, because 360 divided by 6 is 60. So that means there's going to be 6 shapes here. And now what do? We're going to repeat this whole entire thing 6 times, because there's going to be 6. And now let's put this all right here just to see what happens. First thing notice is this is going to draw 5 lines, but our star, or our snowflake that we just drew right now, has 6. So it's going to look a little different. So that's one way. Not the prettiest snowflake. So maybe I instead want it to match up, and I want it to be 6 this time. So they have the same number, they're on top of each other. So let's see how that looks. Still not the prettiest. Oops, because I had to change this to 60 down here too. But it's not what I'm looking for, so I'm going to keep playing around with it until I get one that I actually like. Just like you're going to find one that you actually like. And then once you're ready, still not as pretty as I want. Then you click that finish button.